Highly successful individuals are always focused on what's next, but they often don't take time to reflect on their journey and how far they've come. I'm Craig Heatherly, host of the Path Less Traveled podcast, where we dive into the journeys of extraordinary leaders. Their success rarely follows a straight path, and that's what makes their story so remarkable. Now let's dive into this week's episode after a brief message from our sponsors. A big thank you to Senior One Care for sponsoring today's episode. Founded in 2006 by Carl and Kyle Bossing, this family-owned business has provided compassionate in-home care for nearly 2 decades. If my family needed a caregiver, I'd call Kyle. With 6 Indiana locations, they give you the peace of mind while your loved ones receive the care they deserve. Learn more at senior1care.com. This episode is brought to you by Mosier Consulting, the powerhouse behind some of the most innovative technology solutions in northern Indiana. For 30 years, Mosier has been delivering best-in-class solutions. If you're a leader in your company, Mosier is your partner in progress. With deep expertise in analytics, AI, managed services, Microsoft, IT savings, and strategic consulting, they don't just support your tech, they elevate your entire business. Mosier Consulting, technology experts, real results. Visit mosierit.com to learn more. Welcome to Season 3 of the Path Less Traveled podcast. I'm your host, Craig Heatherly. This week, we feature a couple of individuals from Turtletop in New Paris, Indiana. Excited for the conversation. We've got Phil Tom and Shane Tom joining us. Phil, you are the president and COO here, correct? And then Shane, you are in sales. And what's unique about this dynamic is it's father-son. And we're looking at 4th and 5th generation members from this family and this company. So excited for the conversation, guys. To kick things off, I've had about 59 guests on the podcast over the 2 seasons. And one of those guests is Congressman Rudy Yoakum. And as I talked with him, he mentioned if we were to zoom out, this is the #1 district in the entire country for manufacturing. And I think as members of the community, we don't truly appreciate that, appreciate how unique this space is. And it's no different for this conversation. When I talk with folks in the community, I mentioned that I'm going to be interviewing Turtletop. Half the time they say, what is Turtletop? So Phil, my first question to you is, tell me about this company, maybe a little bit of the history. It dates back to even the 1920s. What you guys do and maybe some uniqueness about how you do it or what you do.
Okay. So back in 1920, Henry Kripe, the founder of Independent Protection, which is our parent company, started a lightning protection company and manufactured lightning protection. And then prior to the Depression, a few months before, he actually had a good offer to sell it. So he sold it and had plenty of revenue in his pocket at that point. Well, here comes a Depression. So in 1934, the company was going to go bankrupt that he had sold. So he bought it back. And so then fast forward through the 30s, 40s, 50s, his son, Ernie Kripe, in 58, 59, he wanted to travel. He had some health issues, so wanted to travel, and he wanted to develop a vehicle that he could stand up and change his britches in. And so he developed a liftable top. And through the late 50s and early 60s, these tops started getting more and more popular. People they wanted to put them on their vans. They wanted to put them on pickups and whatnot. So in 63, Bob Kripe, which is 3rd generation, and his brother, Dick Kripe, which is my father-in-law, Shane's grandpa, they wanted to start an automotive division. And based on the progress that they have made with the tops. So they did. And because the top lifted up, they named it Turtletop. It's like a turtle shell where he goes in his shell and then he pops it up, right? So that's where Turtle Top, actually, the division was created, started, and where actually we started in the automotive business.
Looking for top talent in tech or professional fields? Avero Talent connects businesses with exceptional candidates, specializing in tailored recruiting solutions that match the right skills to your team's needs. Whether building a team or searching for a tough-to-fill position, Avero Talent delivers the expertise you need to hire smarter, faster, and with more confidence. Let us help you find your next star employee. It's unique. You think about the type of customers, the type of companies, the type of organizations that utilize, what you guys produce. It's vast. I mean, everything from senior living to colleges to, name kind of some of the groups that you guys, typically work with, and gosh, your product is all over the place.
Yeah, so we're in several different market segments. We do with deal with the senior living. We also sell to states and municipalities. We sell all of our products through a distributor network, and that's the same way the lightning protection was sold back in the day. And so that's worked well for us. We sell to healthcare. That's a big one that we do. Over the years, we've kind of coined the model there really isn't anything that we can't build and can't do for our clients. And with that being said, that brings along some complexity, but it also allows us to be broad, and you have kind of a broader footprint to where when one industry goes down, hopefully the other one's up. And that's really what's carried us through over the years.
Tell me about the product line that you guys have, and how has that evolved over the years?
So we started out, of course, in vans. Then we built pickups back in the 70s. We also built Class C motorhomes in the 70s. And in 1978 was when interest rates were real high. The popularity because of that, the motorhomes went down, and there was just basically no business or very little of it. And so that's when my father-in-law got with some industry leaders that he knew, and he said, I don't know anything about how to build a bus, but that's what I think I want to do with our shell that we have for our Class C motorhomes. So in 78, we built the first bus, and that's really transitioned all the way up till today. Through those times, we also built van conversions. We were doing, 1,000, 1,200 van conversions a year. And then when I started in 1983, we were building one bus a week. And now we're doing, 21, 22 a week. So.
Wow. And as you look at just the horizon, because one thing that I love about leaders is there's always the question that you love to answer. Maybe you don't. You'd be unique of what's next. You're looking out into the horizon. So as we look at maybe the next year, next 5 years, next 10 years, I guess what is next?
Well, I feel like that, in business, as with family or anything else that you're involved in, you're never done. You're never done trying to be better at what you do. You're never done trying to be a better person, never done trying to be a better community with community involvement and whatnot. And business is the same way. If you let off the gas, it's going to go the other way. It's going to slide back down the hill. So we're not done. We are obviously moving into the fifth generation. The fifth generation is more involved in what they once were. Of course, there's always a lot to learn, but Shane has been a big part, and he's got a couple cousins that are involved as well. But Shane's been a big part on our sales organization, which is actually what I used to do. And I think the best thing that I did, and actually my partner Rob did, was kind of say, okay, we need to step back out of this bubble a little bit, and we need to let our teams grow. And along with that, they're going to fail once in a while, but they're going to learn from those experiences, and we're there to help guide the ship, but we need to let them grow and push this thing into the future.
Yeah, I do want to shift the focus over to Shane. You've now just talked about family. You've talked about fifth generation, and Shane, obviously you are the fifth generation. Phil, you've been with the company for about 40 years, around there. Shane, you've been alive for a little bit less than that, but you grew up in the business. I mean, what's it like growing up in the family business? And then at what point in time did you identify this is what I want to do? Was that at an early age, later in your career? Tell us about just kind of what it was like growing up in the business.
Yeah, so growing up in the business was an adventure. Through my grandfather's eyes, my father's eyes, I got to see and do a lot of things that kids probably wouldn't do at young ages, as far as traveling and coming down to the factory and seeing stuff being built and so forth. But I vividly remember coming down here probably when I was 5 or 6. I'd come down here before that, but starting to pick up trash, pick up screws, all the grunt work that nobody wants to do, but I think it was more of just a reason for my dad to bring me down here and hang out, bond together and so forth. But so growing up through the years, we had dealers in our house a lot, spending the night. They'd come in to pick up a unit or come to a factory tour or whatever. And, my parents would graciously host them for a night or 2 nights. And then also my grandparents would host them out at the Lake Syracuse, where they lived for so many years. So met a lot of dealers that, over time became kind of friends and like our family. So I went on to college, went to the University of Indianapolis. I actually studied sports marketing and business administration, thinking I wanted to go into sports, doing something in sports. Love sports, right? Played basketball in high school and soccer for so many years and so forth. And I did some pretty cool internships down in Indianapolis for the Indiana Golf Association, the Indiana Sports Court Association. And I was getting through the back half of my senior year, I think it was. And that was in 2008, 2009 timeframe, where there was jobs out there, but maybe not as many as there would be in a traditional economy. So, and I still love sports, but I wasn't sure I wanted to work in them at that point, because working in sports is a heck of a lot different than going to a sporting event. It's long days, and not that scared me, but I just didn't think I wanted to take on sports from that angle and work in them and so forth. So I started talking to my dad and what it looked like to come back and work here. Like I said, I had worked here in the summers. I actually had delivered buses through some of high school and college to dealers throughout the United States. So, they had come to us. I'd known them from that side of things. And then I learned a little bit about who they were. I delivered vehicles to Florida, California, Texas. I was getting paid to deliver them, which was fun. Sleeping in buses, sleeping in the aisles, not showering, just trying to get a bus down to wherever it was going and fly back and do it again. So that was fun. So I'd met dealers and, build a relationship on that side of things. And while I was doing that, I was mowing yards at Turtle Top, and I actually had a lawn care company in high school where I had, 10 accounts or so outside of Turtle Top that helped pay for college and spending money and so forth. So flash forward, get to graduating college and not knowing 100% what I wanted to do, just decided to come back here and see what happened. I did have some opportunities to move away and work for dealers that I had met over the years, and I didn't take that opportunity. Hindsight's 2020, but I kind of wish I would have at that young age, just to see the bus world from their lens. But so I started in 2010, graduated college in December of 2009, started here in 2010 officially by working out on the line, working in production. And after that, worked out there for about 1.5 years or a little less, and then moved up into sales, and here we are today.
Yeah, and tell me about what it was like just earning your stripes. The reality in a fifth generation business is that everybody knows you.
Yeah.
Right? They know you since you were born.
Right. Yeah.
And now you're coming into the business and actually this is your job, full-time employment. So these individuals you've seen or worked alongside of for maybe 20, 30 years that have been here. And now, owner's son involved, what was that experience like, and kind of how did you approach that? Because there's not many third, fourth, fifth generation businesses around anymore. And you guys are clearly doing that.
Yeah. So good question. It's not easy. I'll throw that out there, but like I mentioned, just working out on the line, you're working alongside employees that have been here for a long time. Some of them, and everybody might have a different perspective on the owner's son or any relationship to the owner, but I guess it's really about just treating everybody like people and working alongside of them and soaking up all the knowledge that they have from working here for a long time. And I am not the most technical or mechanical person, I will say, but we have a lot of good employees, the great employees that are very have a lot of given talents with their hands and constructing and building vehicles. So just learning about them, it's sometimes people have different ideas on the owner's son, and but it's a kind of a tough path, I will say, because you got to kind of knock down some of those barriers, and you're just another person. You want to do what's best for the company, build a good product, and have fun doing it, and gain the respect of all them is what was hard. But I think I have over the years, and there's not to say there hasn't been disagreements on certain situations, but working along them just like anybody else.
So Phil, we shifted the focus because we were talking about family, and now we're going to shift the focus because we're talking about employees.
Mm-hmm.
And as you pull up the website, you look at the About Us, you look at just kind of browse a little bit, I couldn't help but notice that the mission statement is below the spiritual mission statement, which is different. Tell me about that.
Well, I think we talked a little bit earlier before we actually started talking on the podcast here, that, everything begins in our minds, our family. Everything begins with God, and everything's going to end with God. So it's a circle. It's a full circle. And we're just in the middle of that circle, or, somewhere. And we've always put our spiritual beliefs and whatever, that's number one. Then you got family, then you've got business and our people within the business and our teams. So there is a mission along with the spiritual statement, but there is a mission to provide the best place that we can provide for our teams to work. We understand that we are providing an opportunity for them and that they're providing an opportunity for us. So it goes both ways. The biggest thing that when we've gone through the tough times over the years, I think for Rob and I, and Shane's grandpa, Dick, prior to this, and also Bob. But the biggest challenges in our minds is, things we feel responsible for is our team's families and providing an opportunity for them. And we don't like to let them down. And, I've always said that failure is not an option. And so, we've been through some really tough times over the years where we really didn't know if we were going to get through it. But we were determined to put our trust and faith in God, and we were determined to make a plan and work that plan, and stay focused on what we needed to do to get through that. So,
yeah, that's a great opportunity to talk about. I mean, so the title of the podcast is The Path Less Traveled, and we've talked about this prior to us going live. Just some of the valleys that you guys experience. You touched on it a little bit right there as well. I think it's great to see the successes of a business, but I think we tend to forget about the tough times that we've gone through. So any challenging moments, time periods, valleys that the company's gone through, and then just how have you and the team led through that, and how has just maybe even your leadership style either had to have been elevated or adjusted over the years?
Well, I think, time periods, I think back to 2008, 2009 was really tough, economic times, again in 2012. And then in the 2012, we came through that 9/11 period. And then we fast forward to 2017. We had sold the business, and then just a few months later, we made the decision to buy it back.
Wow.
And that was probably the toughest thing that we had ever been through. In fact, I'm going to say it is the toughest thing we've ever been through business-wise. But we got with our team, when we sold, we had 140 employees. When we got it back, we had 73, I think. And but one thing we did, we met with our teams that came back to join us, and we told them failure is not an option. This is a plan. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to move forward, and we need you to help us do that. And everybody bought in. Everybody was, was like, Katie, by the door, we're going to do this. And so we quite honestly, and again, we didn't do it on our own. It was God's plan all along. We just didn't understand it at the time. So we came through that, and I will say that by going through that, we learned a tremendous amount. We learned where we were weak. I think we also focused and moved forward on where we were strong. And that's led us to where we are today. And we are so blessed. I think we're at 280 employees. Was at our picnic this last week. And, we've got the best team we've ever had. The leadership, it's not all about what I know or Rob knows or any of our management team. It's about, I think, bringing in assistance and support where you maybe don't have the ability to teach them. And so we've put our team, we had a culture that it was, growing, everything is growing, everything is happening really fast. And I think we lost track a little bit of some of our focus and the type of people that we were bringing into our team, and we needed to grow them. So we actually solicited here 2 years ago a leadership individual that came in, and he served 28 years in the military, and then another 3 years for a local large company, educating and mentoring them. And so we hired him to come in and mentor 32 or 33 of our team members. And I can say the change from 2 years ago to today is just unfathomable.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's amazing. And the growth that we've experienced, not only in just, looking at the bottom line, but the growth that we've experienced in our quality, in the personalities, in the respect that our team has when we bring clients through. It's radiated all directions. And so, we have to invest back in not just in the physical forklifts and, asphalt and things, buildings, things like that. You got to invest in your people. And that's what we've really focused on over the years, but definitely been very intent with in the last few years.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack there. Shane mentioned going into sports management, and my background's before working at Gibson as a college basketball coach. So I'm gonna hit a timeout here. We're gonna hit the brakes. You guys made a decision to invest in your people by going outside of the company to hire somebody to come into your company that has been successful over several decades. But you made that decision. How did you arrive at that point? Because I think this is important I think it's something that a lot of business leaders wrestle with.
Well, 2 years ago, I had a large client come in to my office, and he said, Phil, you got a minute to talk? I said, sure. And so we sat down and talked, and he said, do you feel you've got an issue with your culture? Do you feel like your culture is as good as it has always been? And I said, well, we've been through some challenging years, big growth years, and it's a challenge in Elkhart County to, bring in the people that you really want to bring in. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You just need people to help get stuff built. But so we kind of got away from that a little bit. But I said, yeah, I can. There's been some changes and differences. And he said, well, I would challenge you. He said, we've been working with you guys for 18 years. And he said, I'm going to say that and this is hard for me to listen to, but when I come through your plants now and do the inspections and whatnot, that I just don't think it's near where you want it to be. And I don't think it's where your potential's at. And so then fast forward a couple months, I'm on a board at Oaklawn, and this gentleman and myself were standing beside serving their clients Christmas dinner, and we started getting to know each other better. And he shared with me what he did, and I said, I need you. I need you in our place. And so I came back, talked to our management team, and the rest is history. So we hired him. He's done an amazing job. He's still coaching some of our team members, and I don't know that that's probably ever going to change. I don't think, again, you're never done.
Wow, what a tremendous story. Thanks for sharing that and unpacking that. As you look back on advice that, and I'll get both of your takes on this, but you look back on just advice that you wish that you would have received earlier on running the business versus where you're at today. I guess what comes to mind that you think would be impactful for a leader that's listening, that's either starting off in their journey or somebody that's been doing it for a couple of decades now?
Yes. Advice. I think anytime in a family business or any business, probably, whenever you let the financial, I'm going to call it a tail wagging the dog, whenever you focus strictly on financial, that's probably not going to work long term. And I think, again, we talked about investing into our teams. We talk about investing in the people and community and whatnot. You've got to be well-rounded. It makes things a whole lot easier. And one thing that I remember that was very impactful for me, and I was probably, working with my father-in-law at that point 10 to 12 years. But we brought a client through on a Sunday because he said, I'm flying in on Sunday and I need to go through. And so we normally don't do that, but we met him down there Sunday afternoon, and we walked through the plants and explained our products and whatnot. And he, at the end, he said, there's one comment I want to make. And he said, your product is on the high side as far as being expensive. It is a quality product, but he said, you've got to cheapen it up. And my father-in-law, he didn't mix words. He said, it's been a real nice time walking through and spending time getting to know you a little bit. But he said, you're not for us. And he goes, what do you mean? And he said, I want to sell your products. And he said, no, you're not for us. He said, we're going to build our products to the best we can. We're hauling people in them, and people's lives matter. And we're going to build a good, safe product no matter what you tell me that you think we should do. And if you want to sell our buses, great. But if you don't, that's okay too. We'll go ahead and move forward with or without you. So I think winding back, we have to stay focused on who we are. Who do we want to be and who we are? And again, you've got to focus on the items and make the investments that are going to be long-lasting, not just short-term. And long-lasting investments are the type of products we build, the return on the investment for the people that are buying them. We don't want them to wear out in 3 or 5 years like a lot of companies do. We want them to last 15 or 20. And because we just feel that if we do that, the business is going to keep coming. And quite honestly, it has. We've been very blessed.
Shane, I want to ask you, as you've received advice, from influential, impactful people in your life, if you were looking back at a young Shane that just came out of college into the business, family member, not just a new worker in the workplace, but a family member, I guess, what advice would you give to somebody that's 5th generation, 6th generation, 4th generation that's looking to come in?
Yeah. You mentioned young Shane. I like to think I still am young Shane.
A younger Shane.
Younger, keyword. Advice. There's so many things that come to mind, but I guess it goes back to what you learn as a young kid is just treat others fairly and with respect, and that'll, as if we've kind of talked about here, come around full circle. You get a lot of pressure from a lot of different people. People see your name on the front door, or as a family member, and they think you can make something happen overnight. And whether it's an outside vendor or customer or anybody in the world, business wise, and that's not possible. We've got so many key employees that have positions that they're very good at, and that we pay them to be very good at. But I guess my advice would just be to stick to who you are, insulate yourself with really good people around you, because you can't do it all yourself. It's really hard to let go of some things that you think you can control when you can't, and you've got other people that can do them. So taking care of your people around you, and just insulating yourself with the best people around you, and letting them do their jobs, and continuing to want to grow and do the best for the company. But the people are the key.
So I think about the seat that you sit in. Before we got going here, we were talking about all the things that all the plates that are spinning.
Yeah.
Give us some insight. Give a listener some insight into what consumes your thoughts within the seat that you sit in. Shane, you just ended that statement with employees and people. There's a lot of things that you're juggling. Give us some insight into, what keeps you up at night?
Well, I think, passion is kind of a key ingredient to success. If you're passionate about your family, you're passionate about your faith, you're passionate about what you do and who you do it with. And it's not just everybody thinks who you're doing it with. It's just inside these walls. It's not. It blows way out beyond these walls, through our distributors, the families of those distributors. Some of those are in their third generation. And, the good business people, the ones that aren't so good, the end users that are really, really picky, but yet they make us better. And so, my mind honestly doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I do sleep good at night because normally when I go to sleep, I'm tired. And it's either from physical or mental, but, there's another side of it that you got to be content to a certain degree. And there's nothing wrong with making a plan, working a plan, and having desire and want to be the best you can be. But you have to, as a human being, you have to find some contentment in life. And, there's times to push on the gas and there's times to pump the brakes a little bit. And we've been through both of those situations with our family personally, and also in business. So I honestly sleep well, but at the same time, balance has been hard for me. There was a time to where, I would run from here and I'd be running to Shane or his sister's athletic event or school event or whatever. And I was on a treadmill.
Yeah.
And that, while I didn't know any different at the time, I look back and say, man, I don't understand how I did all that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, somewhere, if you're doing all that, something's going to suffer. And so me personally, I have to stay focused on what the top 2 or 3 things are. And I can tell you I've made mistakes, and some of them are really, really affected me and affected our family, but we've come through it, and we're not done working through it. And as long as we keep our faith and keep things in order, so to speak, I really believe you can have a very successful and enjoyable life, and on all fronts.
Success changes the game. Your business is growing. New opportunities, ambitious goals, greater impact. But growth brings complexity. More people to lead, more moving parts, less time and space to think and connect. And when leaders feel that strain, teams do too. At Cressy Leadership, we help leaders navigate those challenges. Through individual coaching, group training, and our Leadership Academy, We build the skills and strengthen the connections that make growth sustainable, helping teams communicate openly, tackle challenges together, and stay aligned on what matters most. Cressy Leadership. Envision what's possible.
We talked about advice prior, and now we're talking about balance.
Mhm.
That younger, driven leader that is wanting to tackle the world and wanting to just scale their life, scale their business, scale everything, that are just the gas pedals to the floor.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we talk about balance here. What would you tell that individual?
Well, I think, all this starts with work ethic and, and again, your values and so on and so forth. Like Shane mentioned, we value our people so much, and we've grown, we've made mistakes, we've regressed, we've moved forward again. And, it's not a straight line. It's a, roads less traveled. Yeah. I've had these guys on some of the roads less traveled. We went through a cornfield one time on a family vacation, literally down a two-tracker, and, everybody was rolling their eyes and sneezing and coughing because they had corn allergies. But we've been through a lot of, fun opportunities as well. And so it's, again, it's about balance. And I think that, you have to leverage your abilities, and there's also times you have to leverage others' abilities to help you get through whatever's in front of you. And, so I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, you previously touched on really focusing on the top 2 or 3 things. You know, really prioritizing, because there's a lot of things that you could do, but you can only prioritize a couple. Well, I've got one final question for you before I'll get final thoughts. There's a lot of things that this company's accomplished. Being in this company for about 40 years, you've accomplished a lot personally. As you look back on what you're most proud of, as you think through that question, what comes to mind?
The top thing, I guess, that I'm most proud of is we've built a company, our family has built a company over the generations that we are not ashamed of. We are very humbled. But at the same time, we haven't done it on our own. We've had a lot of help from a lot of different directions, and one of them's from our Heavenly Father. We really appreciate, humbly, the respect that we have in our industry. We appreciate the integrity that we're known for. And again, that comes from our whole team. That's not just me or Shane or our immediate family. So just doing things the way that we should do them. And we've come to those crossroads. Every business owner, every family member comes to the crossroads to where, do I do the right thing or do I do what I want to do selfishly? And we, more times than not always, we haven't been perfect at this, but more times than not, we've leaned and we've reacted to those situations and went to what we should do, not necessarily always what we wanted to do. And those are tough whys in the road, and sometimes they're very expensive whys in the road. But I think as long as you stay focused, you put others first, you give back, you help. When somebody needs help, you help them. You don't turn and say, I'll help them tomorrow. Nope, you do it now. And more times than not, that comes around, not that you're looking for it to, but it comes around full circle. And when you need help down the road, there's going to be somebody there. And we've had our distributors, we've had customers, we've had banks, we've had accountants, we've had attorneys, we've had all those people that have encompassed us over the years and helped us in one way or another get to where we are today.
Yeah, you remind me of a book that Jim Collins wrote, Good to Great, and he talks about the difference between a level 4 leader and a level 5 leader. And the difference is, and level 5 is his top level of leadership, is one that leads with humility, and the one that makes decisions that's best for everybody, not just himself. And I think you just captured that with what you just said there, with what you're most proud of. Well, I want to get your final thoughts. Wrap this up. It could be anything specific to leadership, to family dynamics, to the company. Whatever you led with passion, as far as the most important thing and what you do and how you approach things, but kind of close us out here, would you?
Yeah, I'd say, for me personally, the family dynamic that's the cream that rises to the top. And our good Lord above, if we stay focused on those two things, that's going to radiate down to all the other stuff. And, I think that, again, we have to prioritize, we have to make a plan, then we have to work the plan. But then there's times where you have to, take a stage left or stage right on the plan and do an audible and then figure out a new path based on circumstances and move forward with that. So, but I can say that, we are who we are, and family business is tough. It is very tough. There's always situations to where you got to agree to disagree. And in a lot of ways, I've said this, it's like a marriage. If you've been married 40, going on 42 years like I have, there's going to be definitely times when you have to agree to disagree. And, you got to remember who's the most important. And I think there's times over the years that I did not follow that very well. But I've definitely circled back to that, and that's my wife and our family. So
I think it's the same individual, but that leadership coach that you've talked about, he shared with me, living in right relationship is much more important than being right.
Yes, it is. Yep. Going to have a happier house if you do that. So, no, we all work together and don't take that lightly at all. But we've all worked hard over the years. And I will say, I think each generation, I think it's something like 0.3% of family companies that make it to the fifth generation. It's really, really low. It's less than 1%. And, that'd be a good stat to look up, but that's the last I recall. But, without trusting in God and using those godly principles to make work and family decisions, you're going to fail. You're just going to fail. And so many people do. And I look at, unfortunately, in Elkhart County, everybody's hard workers. I grew up on a farm and that's where my work ethic started. The kids probably were more involved in different projects at our farm than what they wanted to be, but they knew how to work. And they both make, their mother and myself very proud. But you have to you got to balance and you got to stay focused and you got to make sure you have the priorities in the right place. And if you do, more times than not, everything's going to work out okay.
Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time to do this and share a little bit more about the Turtle Top history and just what you do, but then also the relationship between father-son dynamics and what fourth and fifth generation businesses go through and wrestle with. And it's been awesome hearing your story. And I'm confident that listeners will enjoy hearing the story as well. So thank you both again for doing this. And that's it for this week's episode of the Pathless Travel Podcast. Until next week, have a great day.